Oh, friends, are you prepared to die? I want to just say some more words about that process of death, preparing for death, because again, even though you might be fairly young, death can happen at any time, anybody at any age, in any place. This karma is so mysterious and deep that we don't know what's going to happen. So we need to be prepared now in case it's 5 minutes from now or tomorrow. Now, uh, there's a little simile called the four horses simile, and it's about the people who, four different types of persons who are kind of negligent in terms of thinking about death or thinking that it's important or sort of preparing for death. They say, well, eat, drink, and be merry, and have a lot of fun. And when death comes, it'll just come. Well, that's true. But this little story of the four horses. There was a farmer who had a farmhouse up on a hill. And down a little bit below the hill, he had a barn. And in that barn, he kept his horses, working, plowing the fields. That barn had a big wooden door with rusty hinges, and so when he opened the door, it creaked and make a lot of noise. But anyway, so the farmer gets up in the morning, and he goes out of his farmhouse. Most farmhouses have a screen door, goes out, and then it lets the screen door kind of slam and make a noise. Now, one of those four horses that is sleeping, he hears that. He said, "Oh, my master's coming today. Let me get up and get ready for work." The other three keep sleeping. So then the farmer walks down to the farmhouse and then opens the creaky barn door. And then the second horse wakes up. Says, "Oh, the farmer's coming now. Let me get up and get ready for work." And the other two keep sleeping. And then the farmer goes to the center pole that's holding up the barn where chains and goads and so on are kept. And he's getting the goad down and rattles some chains. And then the third horse, "Oh, farmer's here. Let me get up and get ready to work." And the other one keeps sleeping. And then finally, the farmer has to actually stick the goad into the ribs of the horse before he wakes up. Oh my gosh. So this is the kind of four types of persons also exist with similar types of regard for preparing for death. And especially it's evident during COVID, right? So when COVID first came out, it was in a foreign country. And people thought, oh, that's just a foreign country disease. We don't have to worry about that. But then a few weeks later, a month later, we heard it, got to Seattle. And still people said, well, it's just a mild thing. It's over there on the West Coast, those West Coast people are a bit like this anyway, right? And so people didn't start bothering. Although a few people started wearing masks, but there wasn't too much talk about it. But then it started spreading. Then there was cases in Kansas, cases in Texas, and cases in New York. And then people started getting a little bit more, cautious. And the CD started saying, keep arms distance, and wear masks at all times, and avoid big gatherings. but there's still people that didn't heed that advice. And then it comes to a person's town. A number of people get COVID in the town, and they start thinking, oh, maybe I should wear a mask. Maybe I shouldn't go out to a big a party. And then someone in their family gets the COVID and then maybe die. Now, if it happened to one of your family members, please don't, I'm sorry. I'm just giving an example. So only then they said, oh, I better start wearing a mask or thinking about death. So now there's something called unfinished business. Well, this whole life we've been accumulating karma. And for a lot of people, they accumulate, ill will and grudges against people that hurt them or unpleasant memories and blaming others for various problems that they had, or even blaming the government and blaming anybody, and this kind of ill will that comes to their mind. Or they harbor a lot of greed and attachment. And a lot of people have a bucket list, right? And they're trying to visit all these places on a bucket list before they die. Of course, that may not be too bad, but still. So this unfinished business, pretty much the important ones are not forgiving people, holding these thoughts that, you're not going to forgive them. They have to forgive first. And these other unfinished, these strong desires, as I've already mentioned. So that's sort of unfinished business. It's going to be probably a determining factors in how you're going to die, get attracted to, in the future. So, that's really the practice of the meditation, the practice of the Dhamma, is trying to wind down and finish any unfinished business so that we can die peacefully. The mind won't be saying, oh, I didn't get my last bucket list visitor. I couldn't see my grandchildren graduating from college, or any number of reasons. Or they die harboring these types of, even in the last breath, they're maybe getting angry at somebody who cheated them long ago. You didn't pay me back my money, or something. So all these things we need to, let go from the mind. And you can't wait to the last minute to do that. So now there's 5 stages of dying. There's people who research dying, and when people start to die, especially there's different types of death. Now people who live a ripe old age, like my mother, she actually didn't want to live anymore. She didn't have a death wish, but all of her friends were dead. She couldn't go out and do things anymore. So she had enough. I've lived long enough. So that's kind of a natural reaching the end of the lifespan, and usually due to previous good karma. And then there's others who not so old, but they get some diseases. And maybe they're fairly young, only in the 40s or 50s or even early 60s. So they figure that they should be able to live another 20 years. But for some unexpected reason, they get some kind of disease. And especially in these kind of cases where people are dying kind of, before they're really too very, very old. And they say, well, I've done everything, right. And why is this happening to me? So these 5 stages of dying are said to be denial. Especially with somebody who, goes to the doctor just to get a routine blood test, and then all of a sudden the doctor calls them up and say, well, we found something there in the blood, You got 6 months to live or something. You got 1 year to live. And it's like a shock. And then people want to try to deny it. Oh, they must have got the diagnosis wrong. They must have read the x-ray wrong or the blood test. They must have got it mixed up with somebody else. Because I feel great. Because some people can feel very good and strong, even though they're, decaying inside. And so that stage of denial. And then you get angry. Anger, like angry at somebody. Or, I must have got that when I went to the restaurant and somebody coughed in my face, or any number of things. Or getting angry just at the world. Why is the world doing this? Angry at God, perhaps, if they believe in that. Or angry with the law of karma. What? I've been practicing sila, I've been practicing meditation, and look, why am I getting this disease? That kind of mind states arise. Then finally that wears off, and then they start bargaining. Just give me 6 more months. Give me 6 more months. Try to, forgive people and make amends. I'll give charity. I'll give all my money to the temple or someplace else. And then after all those things don't seem to work, and the person's getting weaker and weaker and weaker, they get depressed. They go into depression. Just because they can't accept it. And then as they get weaker and weaker, then finally they realize they have to accept it. There's no bargaining, no denial is going to work. And so they kind of accept. And that's a good thing, of course, but still they wait that long to accept it. And so, as I mentioned before, the moment of death is the most important moment of our life, more important than birth. You were just born, you didn't even know it. No, you might have been several months old or 6 months old before you realized, oh, I'm a little baby in a bottle. A lot. Otherwise, it was just awareness and things coming and going through the expanded awareness. So at the moment of death, your senses start shutting down, or even before that. When people are dying, they're in a hospital, or they're in a hospice. They'll go to a hospice, right? And they try to give them pain medications so they don't feel too much pain, depending on what kind of a disease they have. But like, I don't know which the first senses to go, but probably something like smell and taste. You start, they're shutting down. The body is shutting down. It's dying. And then the hearing and the seeing. Probably hearing and seeing might be the last ones to go, but they're gradually, shutting down. And then when usually people are go unconscious just a little bit before they die. And then because they're no longer hearing anything around them or any type of external stimuli, the unconscious mind rushes up. And usually it is said like the strongest memories, like maybe the strongest memory that you have, especially there's several ones like killing somebody, murdering somebody, or some other really horrible crime, that's going to be really imprinted in your mind. and you might see blood or knives or guns, which is a kind of a sign of what that may have been, doing. Or it might have been of an animal, cries of an animal, being slaughtered if you've done that sort of a thing. Or it could be good things too. Maybe, you've been a pious person and devoted, and you have teachings of your gurus, or, you have chanting. A lot of times in Sri Lanka, they play chanting, sutra chanting for people that are dying to get their mind to hopefully focus on some good thing, some inspiring thing. Like in the room of a person who's dying, maybe if you know that they're a Buddhist or a Christian or whatever religion they have, put pictures up of, people that they respected and admired, or play music that they're familiar with, and so on. So hopefully their mind wouldn't go to other dark places. But at the moment of death, some sign, what's called a sign of destiny, arises, and if you've meditated and you have awareness, you won't cling to that sign of destiny, but you have to have developed the power not to, because otherwise it's just automatic. Just like, you get an itch and just without thinking, you just automatically go like that. So the mind will go to these images, and that is what is said is going to determine where the mind might go to. But if you've practiced mindfulness and have already been practicing letting go of your thoughts and visions in meditation for a long period of time, and are able to, endure, lots of pain and discomfort, and have contemplated death too, to know that, death it's a grand adventure. Oh, I'm going to see where this goes. I mean, once you've accepted and there's no turning back, you might as well plan for a grand adventure. To be mindful, not to lose that awareness and go into like an unconscious state. So these are, ways that you can, try to understand what may be happening. Now, of course, it's different for people who get in an accident or murdered. They don't have any time to, even like young people, right? And it's a shock. They have no way of preparing. And those are probably very unfortunate, outcomes, because their mind will be in a state of fear or shock and so on. But so one of the good practice to do or preparing for death is practicing forgiveness. Because again, it's holding on to grudges. So the practice of learning how to forgive people, even when it happens, ideally, when something happens, and instead of, going home and festering that in your mind and so on, and then, sort of, well, they started it, they should ask for my forgiveness first. Not going to forgive. So anyway, it's good to challenge that and to gradually learn how to let go of those memories, or any memories, but especially those kind of memories. And so you can actually practice that in meditation. And I'm going to suggest doing that in our last meditation in a few minutes. But so you practice forgiveness. You bring a person's face. You identify somebody that you're still holding resentment, ill will towards. You try to bring them, in your kind of vision And actually looking into their eyes if you could, and then say, I forgive you. And also ask for their forgiveness. So if you know that somebody else has hatred toward you because what they thought you did, then also it's good to ask them to forgive you. And whether you remember or not, we lived our whole life, right? 40, 50 or more years. And a lot of things, incidences we may not even remember, or from high school or college or different work situations. And so even those things that you remember, things that you don't remember. It's good to do that to hopefully clear out the mind. And then you send out metta, metta to yourself, and then metta to all other living beings, like similar to what we did last night. And then as part of that meditation, we're going to see if you can imagine yourself dying. Okay, so that's the main things that I wanted to kind of, finish or go over in this retreat. Although afterwards I'll be giving another kind of a closing talk. So we're going to go ahead and start that now. Uh,